Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Today's November 12th, 2021. I'm Michelle Pache, filling in for Jeannie, and I'm here today with Dr. Michael Ryce. So thanks for choosing to spend some time with us. The call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you press 1, it'll put you into queue to talk with. We encourage you to call in with comments or questions, allowing you to strengthen your practice of forgiveness. So we will be waiting for Michael and start the second half of the show. I haven't co-hosted in a while, and so I thought I would check in with everybody and Michael and see how things are going. I know I get some newsletters that let me know that there's the mind shifter and breath session work that they've been doing online, and wondering kind of how that's been going. And I don't know if anybody has participated in that opportunity. I'm sure he'll be here shortly. Let's see. Oh, there he is. Hi, Michael. Michael, is the mute on, maybe?
Oops, I'm talking into the mute. Yes, I was asking how you were doing and explaining I had to dial back in twice. It didn't want to let me in. So, welcome. How do you be? How are things in Mexico?
Oh, really good. I came here with 2 house sit jobs, and I earned myself 2 more. So I'm leaving December 1st after 73 days of house sitting, and which is just really a nice opportunity to see different cities and different villages and not have to pay for any housing.
Sweet. And are you learning to speak Spanish?
I am really good at using Google Translator and holding my phone up to cab drivers' ears so they can know where I want to go and what I want to happen. And so, unfortunately, technology isn't forcing me to take that on. However, I mean, I do notice that I am picking up words, and it's funny because I'll be at the grocery or whatever, and something will slip up, and I'll say Quanto, and I'm like, how do they know that means? Like, you know, these things. So I think it's one of those osmosis.
Right. Isn't the when you really look at language, I don't know if you were on any of the shows where I talked about back several years ago, we did 6 or 7 different countries, and by our third country we had done, let's see, where were we? We were in Sweden. We were in Italy, we were in Portugal, and by the third country, the whole concept of Babel really clicked for me because, you know, somebody makes up words, makes up sounds, calls them words, and other people agree, and now you have a language. And the Aramaic language, interestingly enough, is the only language that's actually based in the physics of the world. If you look at the Aramaic letters, they're actually 3D shadows of the atomic periodic table of the elements. And so it's actually based in the creation, but everything else somebody made up blew some wind over the voice box and called it a word, and now we think we have words, and we have all sorts of things we can communicate or not communicate to each other about in our babble. And to me, that was sort of something that cemented on a new level the reason why the Aramaic concepts were so powerful, and that they've survived. You know, it is a surviving language. It is still alive, but it's not commonly used. But it's the language of at least 5 of the world's major religions. So it's survived, or at least its conceptual framework has survived in that sense, and I think that's part of the reason why. So we're babbling right now in a thing called English, but
I have a new client who is proficient in sign language and is getting certified as an interpreter, and I was asking her a lot of questions about it since it was, interesting opportunity to really understand that better. One of the things that she told me reminded me of something that you had said in terms of idioms, because what they have to do is basically break the speaker's language down and then give the key concepts. So then let's say somebody, and this idea came to me, like I'll say, like, I was giving someone a worksheet the other day, and there's the Julie Haverstick worksheet, or there's the worksheet that I learned from that has more of the definitions. And so in terms of deciding suggest to her which one I wanted her to use, I said, I think you should use the one with the definitions, because that's the one I cut my teeth on. And then I'm like, cut my teeth on? Really? Because what the hell does that mean? If you were going to literally translate it. And it made me think of this girl, and so the conversation about Babel was all part of that.
Right.
So they just see someone okay, they're sawing your tooth off. Like, why would you cut your tooth?
Well, and when you realize that a child has a teething ring and they're cutting teeth, and we're stepping into language, it's kind of fits. In fact, it's an interesting. There's a particular passage in the scriptures, which I talk about fairly often, where there are a bunch of disciples, far more than the 12 that people think about, and they asked collectively Yeshua the question, what do we need to do to please the Creator? And he gives them an answer, and his answer is an idiom, and they don't quite get it, so they ask again, and the idiom is actually, he said, eat my body and drink my blood, which, in our culture, we take that as, our Babel says, well, that's just wine and wafers. But half of the disciples that were there or more got up, said too hard a saying, and turned around and left and never came back. So obviously when he said, eat my body and drink my blood, he wasn't talking about communion as we think of it today. But in Aramaic, it's an idiom that says, you've got to inculcate, you've got to incarnate, you've got to understand everything that I'm talking about in living this true life out of being. He said earlier, I come to bring you life and bring it more abundantly. You've got to know what it is to live life and who you are and what you are. And they just said, too hard a saying. And it's interesting, and I don't know whether this differentiation exists in the Aramaic. I haven't gone back to look at it. But in the Greek, he actually repeats himself. And the first time, according to the Greeks, and it became a big discussion because the Greeks not understanding the idiom, a deeper explanation of the idiom is, imagine that I'm the best cabinet maker in the world. I make the most fabulous cabinets that exist on planet Earth. Everybody on the planet agrees. And you come to me and say, Michael, I want to learn to make cabinets like you. If I were Aramaic, I'd say you have to eat my body and drink my blood. You have to know everything I know about making cabinets and, and coloring and dowels and cutting wood and types of, you're going to have to do that. But the Greeks translated it as eat, as in sitting down to eat a meal in the first passage. Then the second time, the Greeks, and this is a discussion, if you do some Googling, you'll see it was a discussion in the Greek translations. The second time, the Greeks used a word that would be more like gnawing on a bone. Rather than just sitting down to eat, the second time they come around to it, the word that the Greeks offer is, you're going to have to be like a dog, and you're going to have to really gnaw on this. And it's so accurate when you understand the idiom because, look how much gnawing over the years that you and I have done since you became involved. And I continue to gnaw on this every day to really get to the meaning of what is it to live truly as a human being made of the stuff called love and rid yourself of everything that is unlike love. What does that mean in a culture that's so steeped in, just the simple language of hostility and fear and grief and rage and gossip and slander and condemnation and vengeance and separation and hatred. And I mean, there's just so much of that insanity that's in the language that we're given from our birth. In the physiology, they've done some research where they do microphotography of children's body movements, babies' body movements, and they found that each time they say a particular word, the micro movement of the body will be exact and precise every time. So the thesis comes out that, well, the language, the frequencies of the words we're going to use are built right into physiology. They're that deeply instilled. And we're going to have to gnaw our way out of the insane mind into truly recognizing what it is to function as love, to really, truly be the created essence that we are as love. So it kind of ties in with this whole idea, and I think takes it to another level, and why, we need to gnaw on this understanding in order to really incorporate it and live it.
I understand that. I looked at the calendar and just calculated that I'm at 8.5 years. And as you pointed out before, it's between 5 and 10. And
right.
Yesterday in particular, I felt like something had shifted because it was almost like the brain cells are so well developed after counseling. I mean, I do my own work for sure, but it's reinforced in my employment, between 30 and 40 hours a week for 8.5 years. And so my brain's saturated, and it's almost like when I'm talking and supporting people and identifying their goals or helping them to do that, and almost like it's like channeling out of me, and people want to write it down, and they ask me to repeat it, and I'm like not really sure what I said.
That was
but
so long ago. I couldn't repeat it. I know that one.
And I feel this part of it about being able to support people and teach them and see their excitement when they have breakthroughs or where they're able to drop some aberrant energy. And then that allows me more directly to know myself as love. And it kind of just compounds and builds. And I've got people around me who support me. There was a time recently where, because I'm in Mexico, I found out that Elizabeth is driving my car to Grand Rapids like multiple times a week. I bought this brand new car this year, and it's got like 20,000 miles on it, and I haven't even been home. Like, come on. And so I'm texting her my anger, and she texts back to me, I canceled my goal for my daughter to respect my things. And I'm like, okay, you mean it's just a little thing. Can't even have a minute of anger because I've got people set up to check me. And it was I just laughed at that. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I said, take a photograph of that odometer. I'm going to start charging you by the miles. And she agreed to that. I kept back a line with love. I still need to take care of myself and advocate for, respecting my things, and that's how we're going to do it. And so it was just a great example for me, thinking like, wow, if this had gone unchecked for all these years, I would not be the mom that I am.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, Richard Bach, offers the thought that we teach best that which we most need to learn, and here we are doing it. And I'll say that for myself personally, if I look at 50 years of doing and developing this work, I have done, when we did 2 back-to-back codependence intensives, Jeannie and I, and it really spurred us both to take our work to a new level. Just doing them back-to-back like that was really pretty intense. And I recognize that in the last probably 18 months, maybe 24 months, I've done some of the deepest, most important work I've done in 50 years. If I weren't here 50 years later still doing it, I'd have never gotten and never done those pieces of work. and it's a progressive opening, when we realize that this body-mind unit, this multi-generational database, literally contains every thought, every feeling, every perception, every construct of every mind in our bloodline back to infinity. It's a pretty giant project to say, okay, I'm going to take that all apart. I'm going to learn to decode and feel and be with everything that's in there and throw the stuff away that doesn't support me functioning as love. That's a pretty big project.
Mhm.
And, it takes the community, as you just said. Your daughter's part of your support community that reminds you, and, that's the whole idea of this radio show of developing community and having support. So if people don't have a place to be in the conversation, they can do it every day, at least for an hour, and or go back and do archives so that life becomes a process of building brain cells for functioning differently than, what we were all taught right from the womb to do. And to give us the response that those disciples gave to Yeshua of too hard a saying. I'm not going to go there. But you just keep chipping away, and profound, pretty powerful.
Yeah, I feel so effective as a therapist because of these tools. It's something I don't think I could have ever imagined being able to access, to truly heal people, not just treat their symptoms. And people who've had previous therapists, and then they come to me, one of the best compliments I ever got recently, this girl's like, oh my God, I want my money back for all the therapists, all the co-pays that I've paid over the last 15 years, because I have learned more in one session than all the other times I've been in therapy. And I was like blown away, and then I realized, that that's probably accurate, because those other therapists, not that they probably haven't done their work, they haven't accessed what healing is truly about. They just learn how to manage anger, come on, there's classes on that. Like, why would you want to? Let's heal the crap that's underneath there, grief, the guilt, the shame, the worry, the disappointment, the jealousy, and let's get back to love and realign with, being the true nature of who you are. And it's very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, I love how Tim talks about it and how he's spoken about, as a clinical therapist, over 4 decades in practice, and he talks about different exciting therapy results that he's heard different therapists getting and gone to study with them and get there, to get to be able to do what they do. And he shared, or he shared more than once actually, and it's like, but nobody else can work what they're doing. I mean, they tell us what they do, but it's not transferable. That it's not set out as a set of principles. And he offered that, with this work, he can hand it to anybody, and they'll produce the same results he does. All they have to do is follow the formula, follow the tools. And, I feel blessed that my early work was in the field of electronics, and in that field, if you built a piece of equipment, electronic equipment, or repaired it, or, what have you, when it came off the bench, it really didn't matter what your philosophy was. The darn thing had to work. And so for me, it's been, okay, so how do we get this down to something that's transferable so that anybody can use it? And, when I go back and I get another level of understanding of the root that it comes from, which is out of the mouth of Yeshua in Aramaic, it's like mind-boggling that this level of understanding was on the planet 2,000 years ago, and who knows what we still don't know about what he taught. But we sure have a handful here by having especially the forgiveness tool. It's like, wow. So I'm certainly filled with appreciation at the moment.
Mhm. No, it's quite a blessing. Well,
thank you for passing it on to others. That's If each one teaches one, then the multiplier effect means it's going to scramble throughout the culture more and more quickly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. People will mention from time to time, I shared this worksheet with my, coworker or my sister-in-law, or, this mind shifter idea I gave to my, cousin. And it always like a little smile, like, yep, just, they pass it on and it heals something, or they teach their kids, like, they'll order the Healing Children book and they start doing worksheets with their children. A lot of moms making choices to homeschool. I'm sort of seeing a pattern of that because the education and the mandates and the things that are going on are not comfortable for them. So rather than compromise their principles, they're bringing their kids home to teach them. And usually these parents have, I think, a higher level of conscious awareness. And so when I present the ideas about using the worksheets for the kids, and that's been adopted, and they love it. And then, you also resonate people who are ready, I think, for the work,
Right.
They self-select out. If not, one-time wonder. I wonder where they went, but they weren't ready to hear it. I got a call from my office yesterday, and my admin said, Michelle, there's this client that you used to see 2 years ago, and she switched over to Jackie, which was another therapist. And sometimes that happens. People will say, like, I'm not feeling it. Can I get a different therapist? And I'll do a worksheet on rejection and then let them be. But this one lady, it always comes back in the mind, because I knew the moment that I turned her off is because we were talking about, she was bringing up some stuff about her dad, and she was being real victim-oriented about it. And so then I kind of gently rerouted her to taking more responsibility, and I could just see the way her face turned, and that was our last session. And that was 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And so my admin says, Michelle, this girl wants to come back. She's been with Jackie for a while, but she likes your style better. Started to laugh because I'm like, of course I'll take her back. Of course I will. But
ready to go for it.
She's more ready to hear it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, Michael's talked about that before, where people go away for 10 years and then they come back. I'm like, well,
exactly.
That's cool. Yes, I'm ready for her.
Have you seen the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
Oh yeah, I saw that when
it's
it
a story
came out,
of Tom Hanks plays. So to me, that movie is the epitome, and I would love to have spent time with him as a human being, just because of the results he produced. But the movie really isn't about him. It was written. The story of it was written by the writer, and it was about his experience with Mr. Rogers. But the epitome of that, or the picture to me of that movie is, here's this guy, and his basic message is, don't make me look. That one scene where they're sitting in the office and they've got an appointment, and because he pushes the guy, he just gets up and leaves. It's like, don't make me look in my life. And when truth shows up, most people live in blockage of truth, and when truth shows up, their stress goes up. And that stress is going to be attached to one of two things. It's going to be attached to you as the one who presents the truth that raises the stress level in the mind, or it's going to, in getting rid of that, or it's going to attach to, self-correction. Here, my stress level's up. I have an opportunity to do some healing here. And for most people, it's attached to whoever's out there, and that's why we've got the divorce rate in the country that we have. That's why we have the murder rate. That's why we have the wars that we have. I mean, it's all, if only stress were understood and forgiveness were applied, the whole global culture would change overnight. But how many people do you hear saying, "Oh yeah, the stress at work"? Excuse me, there's no stress at work. There's zero stress at work. All there is work. If I take a mind in that gets loaded with goals, each time I set a goal, I create a stress, then I'm creating my stress, and I could reduce. Now, there might be workplaces that are not a place that anybody would want to work, but still the person who's sitting there, it's the goals they hold that create the stress they experience. And few people want to be responsible for that until they understand the benefits.
Yeah, I understand that one. I am a certified advanced alcohol and drug counselor, so a lot of my people have a background with AA, which is, I find, is really helpful in the sense that they are able to use that foundation to kind of springboard to the forgiveness work. Like, they sort of understand some basic principles. The difference between 12 steps and forgiveness work is there aren't really any specific tools. Like, good ideas, I understand that I need to be responsible or make amends, or the different elements, or bringing in God into it, right? I mean, you can almost take a 12 steps and match it up to a worksheet, but there's no, like, real way to practically apply it. And it's more like treating symptoms, not actually doing the healing work that creates those symptoms.
I hear you. It's definitely time for healing.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities for sure. And, there's just so many challenges out there. I've got my personal record with the number of clients that I've ever seen in a week. And so people are like, why are you working so hard? Like that's too much. I agree it's too much. And there's so many hurting people out there. It's really, it's very challenging for people. They've never have been put to the test in the way that our world crisis, I'm going to say, is forcing people to have to deal with stuff. We have a
Sure.
wait list in our office, and there's, over 20 therapists. Really, just a lot of, I guess I'm going to say it's ascension, because all these things need to come up to break through as part of, like, raising the consciousness, raising the vibration, raising humanity.
Yeah. There's certainly a lot of suffering going on, and if only the person who's suffering, traumatic events, well, they happen. But pain, when you realize that pain is something we bring to the event, is optional. And most people don't know it's optional. It's just, it's so keyed in from the generations into the automatic decision system. It's like, oh, well, I have a choice about this. Well, if you learn to choose instead of live in decisions, you would. But, and the conversation, actually, I'm going to shift into reading a little bit from the chapter 20 in Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And the title of this chapter is Waking from the Has-Been. And I've been talking to Richard about he had taken on a message from his father that he was stupid, and he's realizing, he asked me the question, oh, man, I'm going to get rid of this, but is that what's meant by the casting out of demons? It's like, yeah, that's what was meant. Thought disorders are, in the ancient times, they called them demons, and people were seen to be possessed by them. And you look at somebody who's totally, nose to the grindstone of their pain and their trauma and their suffering, and, yeah, they're locked into demon possession. And that's just thought disorders, energetic patterns that never belonged in a human being. And the whole idea of being possessed is, yes, if we're run by the automatic decision system keyed to rage and fear and guilt and grief and self-deprecation, and as Richard in this particular passage was talking about, is he uncovers that it's, I'm going to get rid of this, and then he all of a sudden, like, oh, is that what the casting out of demons was, when you remove something from the has-been, the mind from the past? And I offered him exactly. Our disintegrative inner thought complexes are our demons. I'm seeing that, Michael, he says. A whole complex of being stupid, thoughts and feelings just surfaced for me. It felt overwhelming and confusing when that happened, but somehow it was different from when it happened in the past. Whenever that occurred before, I would get lost in the feelings and buy into being powerless. Just now, I can see that I stayed conscious and processed. I think that's what you called it. Through those thoughts and feelings without getting lost in that my stupid pattern. That feels like such a great relief. And the key thought at this point, we're on page 145 for anybody that's following along with us, when we lay claim to the quote-unquote evil in ourselves, it can be forgiven. We then no longer need to fear it's occurring outside of our control. So I acknowledge him. Nice work, Richard. Yes, this is process, and I think you just worked through one of your demons, or what are sometimes called drag-ons, and in some circles, Klingons. And, in the app, we've got the Drag-On Klingon game. And, you go back to the Star Wars where they had the Klingons, and, it's a metaphor for the things that people hold on to. And like, oh, I couldn't let go of this. This is my identity. And, if it's not based in love, it's not anybody's identity, although it can become the false identity that we get lost into. And you go back 2,000 years ago, and Yeshua recognized that, and he said, in order for you, the truth of who you are, who are dragging on your old patterns and clinging on to your insanity, in order for you to live, you've got to die. The self, the false created, generated self of the mind that does that has to be removed, has to go. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people run away, because they see that, oh my God, I'm going to lose myself. But to lose a self based in drama and trauma is a wonderful thing, although it can be experienced as, until one grounds themselves in truth and who they are, it can seem like a major loss. So that's our conversation with Richard today. I was just saying yesterday, I don't know if you've been listening to the show lately, but this is the second time I've read the book since I wrote it 25, 26 years ago. And I'm impressed. I'm enjoying reading it again. There's so many things there. It's like, oh, I didn't know I knew that then. I didn't know I understood that. Oh, God, right. That's so well explained. So, fun to do.
One thing I was kind of curious about was how the mind shifter and breath session is translating to the online experience.
We did the mind shifters and still point breathing in the 2 intensives that we did, and it worked very well. So we decided to do one more mind shifters and still point breathing workshop. We did that about 7 or 8 weeks ago. And I have never, in over 40 years of doing still point breathing with people, I have never seen a whole group go into still point at the same time. In that workshop, every person went into still point at the same time. And there was so much energy moving that I actually turned the workshop over to Jeannie for a little while, and I came in and did my own still point breathing process, my own breathing, just left it to her to support people for probably half an hour or so of that workshop. So it was powerful, and as a result of that, we've actually set it up so that we are doing the second Saturday of each month. So day after tomorrow, we'll be doing a still point breathing workshop. And we've set that up so that we're doing one every month, the second Saturday of the month at 10 o'clock Eastern time in the morning. And then on Wednesday following that, we're doing a session where we're doing questions and answers and process work and that sort of thing. So we've got a 1-year program set up. out of that as a result of the way that came together. So it's translating really well, and it's delightful. And if you would like, I don't know if you have the space. I don't know what your time frame is there, but if you have the space on Saturday morning and you'd like to be our guest in it, I'd be delighted to send you the links. And actually, we're doing a new thing as well. We've been talking about it the last couple of days. Saturday.
You said Saturday. Oh, that's tomorrow.
I was thinking today was Thursday. Okay, yeah, it is Friday, isn't it? You're right.
Okay.
So anyway, if you have the space tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, and we've got a small group, so it'll probably be over by 1 or 2 o'clock. If you'd like to join us, we'll send you the link in Zoom, and we'll send you the new. One of the other things that we're doing out of it is I've created for this 1 year period what I call an ever-expanding mind shifter tool.
Okay.
And
it sounds like
you'll remember
an everlasting gobstopper.
Say it again.
In Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, he invented a special candy for poor children. It's called the everlasting gobstopper, and you could suck it and suck it, and it would never get smaller. So I'm like, what is?
Oh, that's cool.
Everlasting mind shifter.
Well, ever expanding, and so you'll remember that in the intensives, we hand out a sheet, and it has 3 sets of mind shifters, section 1, section 2, section 3. And each list has 13 mind shifters in it. So that's what we invite people to select from. So for this month, we've created a 4th set of 13, and it's on, the topic is healing into eternal life. So there's a new set of 13 mind shifters. And I've started to work on next month's already, and where this month is healing into eternal life, next month it's going to be healing death. So each month we're going to add another section, another 17 or 13 mind shifters to the set of tools that we're using mind shifters for. So that's kind of cool. Been having fun doing that. So if you got the space, would you like to join us on at 10 o'clock tomorrow? Are you there, Michelle?
Oh, my apologies. I was muted. So I would love to. I appreciate the invitation, and I want to do it. I have people scheduled 9, 10, 11, 12, and 1. So I'd have to change 5 people's schedules. So that's like in the same period. That's why I'm like, if it was Sunday,
right.
I'm in.
Okay.
Well, then maybe another time, because I've done some other energy work online, and there is no time and space. And the effectiveness is as if you're in the same room, and I've always experienced, I mean, you see me drive 1,000 miles to come for a breath session. I'm thinking about Virginia, and I'm thinking about North Carolina, because there is, I mean, I can do it by myself all the time, and I have, but there is a different level of synergy when you're doing it with a group that's so superior. I really, I'm kind of disappointed that I can't, I mean, I feel like my integrity is committed to them, and we do it in the morning because people like to come to the therapy and then get on with their day.
Right. So, well, maybe hold the second Saturday of next month. The second Saturday, 10 a.m. and and then the Wednesday night. But if you'd like, from the new list, it's section 4, so the numbers are from 1 to 13. What pops into your mind as a number from 1 to 13? We'll give you a mind shifter from the list.
Okay, from section 4, huh? Oh, I thought 12 came up really quick.
12, okay. So 12 is, and you're the second one of the workshop that's working on this one, honoring truth.
Got it.
Get your pen there. And being able to see and forgive. honoring truth and being able to see and forgive my errors opens me to eternal life. Honoring truth and being able to see and forgive my errors opens me to eternal life. If there's anybody that's out there that would like a mind shifter from this list, pick a number from 1 to 13, push 1, and tell us what your number is, and we'll give you the mind shifter. This is a brand new set that we've added to the package.
Oftentimes, I know it's a good mind shifter. When, I've done these all over the years, and oftentimes I notice this pattern. It's a good mind shifter when I don't understand it at first. Like, wait, I'm not sure that being able to see and forgive my errors opens me to eternal life. Really? Like, what? What is, okay. And instead of like, okay, there's the signal. This is a good one.
Perfect. Yay.
Mhm.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think that is cool. I've it's about time, because I've been assigning them to other folks a lot lately. It's just, sometimes there's like an ebb and flow, and a lot of the ladies that I have right now, this like current batch of caseload, I guess you could say, is really like popping. And I'm going to do this so that I can tell them, yeah, my teacher gave me one, and this is what I am working on. So it's nice to be
cool.
In the trenches.
And so if there's anybody out there in listener land, if you'd like a mind shifter, pick a number from 1 to 13, push 1, say hello, tell us what your number is, and we'll give you a mind shifter to work with. It's a fun tool. A powerful tool when you realize that the mind works by resonance, and that if you get the right frequency, that is the right mind shifter, then things pop and open and move in ways that would otherwise could not be imagined. For me, this tool is just one of the most profound, in that I don't care what you're hiding from or how deeply it's been buried in the unconscious. If you set the right frequency up that resonates enough, it's going to pop to the surface. And, it's like it just goes right to the core.
No, I'm thinking about this one client who she brought something. She said she's only shared it. Well, actually, she's never shared it. Now I correct myself. I'm going to say her husband knows, but I don't think he does. From something that happened when she was 16. And when we finally, kind of identify the goal, it was around being able to see herself as love. And so then I found a mind shifter to kind of fit that theme. And she showed me her paper. She wrote about 7 pages, and she held the paper pad up to the video cam. And she goes, look here where my writing changed. And it just almost went to this scribble thing. And during that time, she had put her Alexa onto a station that had songs without words. Like, she wanted some background noise to sort of make it peaceful in the room, and then she was doing the mind shifter. And she's showing me this part where it was like, far into it, and she's pretty deep, and then the writing changed, and she said at the same time the music on the Alexa changed, and there was a song there, and they were singing words that were about being loved. And she was telling me there was like electricity there, and there was this a sort of out-of-body, surreal moment. Kind of, it almost sounded like a near-death experience, because she was describing
near-life experience
when they are out of their body for a minute, and they're in this pure, peaceful, blissful state, and everything is being shown to you, and you remember consciously thinking, I never want this to end, and And then she started listening to the words in the song, and the words in the song were talking about your love and being love, and it was really magical. Like, because that shouldn't have been happening on this radio station that was supposed to be a non-word radio, channeled. And so the mind shifter and what she was accessing, like, it was metaphysical. There was way more happening, like, in that moment. And we were both so excited because she knew that it was like, she like pierced the veil, basically.
Yeah. Well, and when we realize the whole universe is here to support us, it's here to support us. And anything can move in and bring that support when we're inviting it and in a space of willingness for it. And, of course, what does the world teach us to be willing to receive but trauma and self-deprecation and all the crazy stuff that has gone on for generations in our culture, and people have just been asleep in it, just lost in it. It's time for suffering to end on planet Earth. Does that mean that there won't ever be an accident again? No, there'll be accidents, but the people who would come to the accident will come with hearts and minds connected to love and the wisdom to know how to best support this person. Does it mean people aren't going to die? No, it doesn't mean people aren't going to die. But when someone dies, instead of being in trauma and pain, people are going to stand as a space of love and realize that if pain comes up for them, it's their pain that can be forgiven, and they can simply be the space of love for this person who's dying or has just died. I mean, it's just so, the whole game is going to change so deeply. I was talking to a neighbor a couple of days ago, and he'd gone down to see his mom and dad who were elderly, and he was telling me that his dad's had Alzheimer's for 10 years, and, it was just kind of like, he's a shell of a man. And I started to talk about, permission, for him to go and such. And, this is a guy who's a manager of a large company here in Bristol, Virginia. And he just broke down in tears, and he said, I can't talk about this anymore, and walked away. It's like, but come back and breathe. You can unload that. It's inside of you. You don't have to carry it around with you. But, until people are ready to hear it, till people have got the eyes to see and the ears to hear. I had a fun time yesterday at 11/11 being 11/11, Armistice Day. I did a presentation for a Spanish group, and I'm not sure. Have you met Nene?
Yes, I know her.
In one of the intensives? Yeah. So Nene, she's been teaching the work in Spanish. She's been doing some work in South America and such. So she translated as I presented, and it was really cool. And actually, I haven't posted that on my Facebook page yet, but I went back. I had done a thing for the Spanish group last year. It was an interview style thing last year, and I was just wowed by how much information we got into a 1-hour conversation. So I'll send you a link to that too, and I sent you the new Mindshifter list too.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah. So do we have anybody out there in listener land that wants a mind shifter? Or anybody that has a thought, question, answer, idea for us? If you're out there, we'd love to hear your voice. Maybe there's a thought disorder, a demon that you want to get rid of, that you'd like support with, or you want a mind shifter for. Death is a demon. You go back into the ancient teachings, they were really clear. With man, death began. We made that whole process up, and it's not required. My background in physics, here's what we know about the universe. It's eternal. Energy. It's all energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. If it can neither be created nor destroyed, it must be eternal. If we exist, we must be energy. If we are energy, we must be eternal. Why don't we live for eternity? Because we have thought disorders based in death, demons, things that need to be forgiven. And so let's go for it. And, each and every person on the planet right now and there might be an exception or two, I don't know of any, has death already programmed into their genes. And I know that because everybody that I know of, every person in their bloodline over 120 is already dead. And so it's right there. It's in us. And when we're willing and create the invitation for that stuff to start to move and acquire and practice and utilize the tools for doing it, we can eradicate those patterns. And, you know, it's like, what else is there to do? Now, there's some people who say, well, Michael, that's just really silly. You know, that's crazy talk. Well, okay, let's dissect it. It might be crazy talk, or seem to be, but if it's true, going with it and doing it will give you eternal life. If it's not true, then going with it and doing the work will make your life happier. What have you lost? You know, like what? And when you really realize how profound it is, what else is there to do but to do your work? And then it becomes, yeah, that's it. So we've got about 9 minutes or so left.
They're listening. I know people are listening, and there's an opportunity here. I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to do this weekend. I'd like to have some company.
Yeah, cool. And or, you know, we've got space. It's a small group, so if anybody wants to join us for the workshop, it includes the video from our video catalog of introduction, Mind Shifters and Introduction to Still Point Breathing. It includes an intensive video on Mind Shifters, and it also includes a radio show where we had a whole conversation about why Mind Shifters. So the topic's really covered thoroughly, and we invite people to take it, work, and write their Mind Shifters before we start the actual Still Point Breathing workshop on Saturday morning, tomorrow morning. And then, as I say, I'm expecting with the small group we've got that we'll be finished maybe by 1 o'clock or so, 2 o'clock maybe. And then on Wednesday, we'll pick up at 7 o'clock to another Zoom session. And the workshop includes both of those videos as well. So, you know, it's a powerful process, powerful interaction and community. And you can join that, just do one session if you'd like, or we've got it set up so you can do a package of 3 sessions, or you can do the whole year. And, you know, each one save a little more money. So. And create support for us moving the tools to the next level on the planet. Actually, I got a note from Julie today, Julie Haverstick. She's out at Heartland, and she's actually hired a local person to come in and help to kind of spruce up the property and get it into shape. And so she had sent a note saying, you know, if anybody was, you know, getting toward the end of the year, needs to get rid of some money, needs to donate to something, then you might want to just jump on the website, whyagain.org, and there's a donate button there, and support this next project that's happening at Heartland. It's kind of a spruce up cleanup. You know, we've had the center closed for the last 2 summers. And with the way COVID's going, I don't know what we're going to do with it next year, but we're holding the space for things to shift on a global scale in that regard. And our calling number, if you're on one of those stations, you know, if you're listening from a station where we're syndicated and we can't see you, therefore you can't directly ask us a question. If you just dial in at 563-999-3581, you'll be listening to the show. And then if you have a question for us, all you do is push 1, and through the magic of technology, a hand will go up. Michelle down in Mexico. I mean, I love this technology. Like, here I am in Bristol, Virginia. You're in Mexico, and who knows where people are listening around the globe. And we all get to have this conversation, and a few minutes after it's over, people can go and download it for free from our website. I mean, how cool is that? That we get to do this, and, you know, move it throughout the globe, and and once it's in the archives, it's eternally available. We've got well over 3,000 hours of radio shows where we've had some very profound conversations. So if you want to tap into those, by the way, if you happen to listen to a show that doesn't have any notes on it, if you make a note of the date and then just send us, a paragraph or two, what you learned from it or what was important about it or what topics it covered, that makes our database searchable so people can, look into topics by specific dates. So if you happen to do a show that doesn't have a description, if you wouldn't mind writing one and sending to us, it would be appreciated. That way we can expand the service of the database just a little further. I feel really blessed that we've had this workshop going on for over 10 years now. It's pretty cool. We're actually coming up to the 11th year in January. So,
wow.
So I'm shocked that nobody even wants a mind shifter. Come on, you're out there. 5 minutes. We've just got a few minutes for a conversation. Other than that, anything else on your mind? Anything else you'd like to inject into the conversation? Michelle? Muted, Michelle?
Yeah, you were saying earlier about that when you did the two codependency workshops back to back, that you were going to a deeper level. That resonates with me in the sense that the work is always kind of coming at you, and you might plateau for a little bit, but then there's an opportunity, and then you dig deeper, and you plateau, and you dig deeper, and so I feel like more recently I've been doing a next level of digging deeper, and so as part of when the opportunity came for my schedule to be free, like, okay, you know what, I need to recommit to getting back on the radio show, and let's get ready to do a deeper level of work. I just noticed that I'm like yesterday, almost over probably, let me see, I had 13 clients, maybe 8 of them, we just did worksheets. And what's really cool is I can do a share screen with people and then bring up the worksheet so they see it. They have their worksheet that they're writing on, but then I can read along or clarify, use my cursor in a way to help them, no, see this part over here, or see over here where it says
stay
this.
Focused.
And it just feels more effective than when you're in a therapy office, because they're sitting on one side of the room and you're on the other side of the room. And so it's actually it's way better.
Well, that's some of the feedback that we've gotten about intensives. Doing the intensive online, several people said, well, when I'm at Heartland, I love it. I have to take time off work. It costs me more money. And I'm sitting in a room and I'm looking at you at the front teaching, and I'm not seeing other people's faces. But here on Zoom, we've got 25 people in this workshop, and I'm looking at 25 faces continuously as we're teaching, as we're processing, as we're asking questions. So people felt like it was much more intimate and more profound, and that they were at home doing it, so they were actually, rather than going off somewhere and having to bring the tools back home, they were actually in the practice of it in their lives. And the fact that each intensive, one was 14 weeks, the other was 17 weeks, that they were able to bring their questions back, live, use the tools. So it's kind of an upgrade in a sense. And we do actually have a package now, a self-study package with both of those intensives on video. There's 90 hours of teaching and process work and questions and answers. We've got the whole of 2 full videos, or 2 full intensives available, and the raw food support program from Facebook. So it's pretty cool to have that available digitally now, to make it more globally available and spread it around. And beyond that, if anybody wants to join us for the workshop tomorrow, drop Jeannie an email, JEANIE, whyagain.org. And other than that, Michelle, thank you for being available. And gracias, mucho gracias, and have the best day yet of your eternal life. All right.
Adios.